Two teams of the very best bowlers from either side of the Atlantic are out to prove a point. Four men from America are determined to reclaim a trophy they've been denied for the last 4 years. Four men from Europe are out to make history, to become the first team to win 5 consecutive titles. The stage is set for Session 3 of the Weber Cup. The magic number here at the Weber Cup is 19. It's the first team to reach that target that claims the trophy. 1 point per match, with the matches consisting of singles, doubles and a baker, a team match involving all 8 players. As for the scoring, it's been simplified. The matches are played over 10 frames, there's no extra shot in the 10th. A strike is worth 30, and of course the magical score still remains the 300 game. Europe have been chasing this tournament from day one. The Americans claimed the opening 2 matches and set the tone. It was left to Jesper Svensson to save the day. He responded with points that kept his team in touch, helped by Barrett winning in the final match of the session. Day 2 opened with Barrett picking up from where he left off. Another win, this time against E.J. Tackett. Barrett had put himself up for the next match alongside Svensson, but his quest to lead from the front failed in the face of Tackett and Troup. It didn't get any better when Jesper Svensson lost his first ever Weber Cup singles match. Much had been made of Marshall Kent, who was down to play 4 times in this session. First time out, he won with Sean Rash by his side, America 2 clear. The doubts about the American tactics started to creep in when Kent lost to Stuart Williams in the next. The tactic came under further scrutiny when Kent lost again, this time in the doubles. Larsson and Svensson walking away with the point. It required real character to turn such losing form around, and Marshall Kent found it in the last match of the session with a win over Martin Larsson. Points still the margin, and another session where Team USA came out on top. They'll be looking for a similar run in the next, with the Baker match to open. From there on, it's a selection of singles matches ending with the captain's pick. Last time, both captains opted for their opposite number. 8-6 the overall score in this race to 19. Coming up now, the Baker match involving all 8 players. Then to join our commentary team of Cass Edwards and Nick Halling.
Thank you very much indeed. Yep, it's the Baker to get us underway. The Americans served notice of their intentions right from the get-go in our very first match of this year's Weber Cup. when they came out and bowled a 289. Now that in Baker play, when you've got guys just rotating their shots, taking a frame, then another frame from the next guy and so on, it is a freakishly high score in a Baker. If they can replicate that, they're going to take some stopping.
We seriously thought we were in for the first 300 of the tournament in the very first game, and it was just one single pin left standing by the team captain Sean Rash that prevented that occurring. But as you say, Nick, a 289 is a massive game and a great start for Team USA.
Looking ahead, and this has already been talked about, Jesper Svensson is the ace in the hole for Team Europe, the tall, young Swede. There he is, centre of the shot there. That's moving around. Now, the way the draw has come out, and the captains don't know the order that the other guy is going with, he has drawn E.J. Tackett twice in singles play. Now, that's the interesting development, because Tackett is the man that's being asked to shoulder the load a little bit in this Saturday evening session for the Americans. It was Marshall Kent who was up a lot earlier today. Yesterday we saw a lot of Kyle Troup, but Tackett is the man that's going to go up against this man twice. And Tackett has lost. There he is with the glasses. Now, Tackett has not had a great Weber Cup. He's lost his 2 singles matches and he's lost one of his 2 double matches, and the Americans really need Tackett to try and at least split that little mini series with Jesper Svensson, and that's a tough ask.
It certainly is, but let's not get away from it. E.J. Tackett is the reigning world champion, the current Tournament of Champions winner, and current PBA Player of the Year.
Now, historically down the years, and you'll correct me if my recollection is wrong here, Cass, but overall I think the balance would show over the last few years of this, the last 17 years, that it's the Americans that tend to play better in Bakers. I don't know why that is, but if they can get a few strikes going here like Jesper Svensson has, the Europeans definitely good enough to win this one.
Great looking shot from Svensson here, right in the 1-2 pocket, carries all 10. And just going back to what you were saying, yes, early doors in the Weber Cup, it was the Baker game was almost a point thrown away by the Europeans.
It really was.
Sort of accept the fact we'll lose that one, but we'll make it up later on. But in more recent years, the Europe have had much more success.
So the two-handed bowler for Europe has got a strike. Here is the two-handed bowler for USA, the distinctive Kyle Troup from North Carolina. All those revs that these two-handed bowlers get, just tearing the rack apart.
Yeah, great looking shot for the first frame, known as the shovel shot. The two-handers, 2 fingers in the ball but no thumb.
A perfect start from both teams. More to come after the break. Welcome back to the Weber Cup. It's the 15th match and the opening one in session 3. It's the Baker game involving all 8 players. Little to choose between the two sides in the early exchanges. The remainder of this session is made up of singles matches, but for now it's about their collective effort as we rejoin the action with Cass Edwards and Nick Hawley.
So here comes the skipper, Dominic Barrett from Colchester in Essex. Hits the pocket, rips the rack. That's a double for Team Europe.
Just a reminder, we're playing the World Bowling scoring system. No countbacks, every frame is scored as it's bowled. 30 pins for the strike. So Europe have got 2 strikes and are 60 in the second frame.
So here's the man we were talking about. The man that's in the best form of anybody right now, E.J. Tackett. But he's got to bring that high-class form to the Weber Cup. He gets a strike here in the Baker.
Yeah, the man with all the revs. Snaps the wrist, puts so much rotation on the ball with some speed, and it just absolutely rips back. A fraction high, perhaps,
yeah,
but it carries all 10.
Yes, it wasn't a perfect pocket hit, but it did the job. So we wait to see who blinks first. And here comes Martin Larsson, the veteran on this European team. Hits the pocket or rips him up. Yeah, this is very, very good stuff from all the bowlers so far.
Don't forget, this is the lane dressing condition that the Americans have chosen to outscore the Europeans, but just at the moment the Europeans look as though they really, really fancy this lane.
3 strikes in a row is known as Turkey in the business. Europe have had theirs, and the Americans have gobbled up theirs as well. That was the skipper, Sean Rash.
Yes, I hate me to say it, but he's the eldest player in the tournament at 35.
So, there's a big pile of chips on the table right now. Let's see if Stuart Williams can raise it a little bit higher. Yes, he can. 7 men have stepped up, 7 men have bowled strikes.
Another great looking shot from the European side. Hits the down lane marker there and rips the rack right in the 1-3 pocket. And I owe Sean Rash an apology. He's not the eldest player on the tournament. It's Martin Larsson, who's 38.
Here's somebody who's definitely not the oldest. This is Marshall Kent, who will celebrate his 25th birthday later this month. And he too keeps it going. Well, both teams on course for a perfect game here in this Baker.
It just goes to show what the top pros in the world can do on a freshly dressed lane that's conditioned, not necessarily for high scores, but a dry back end in the last 20 feet. Plenty of oil to help the ball down the lane, maintain the rotation. And of course, as it hits the pocket, it hopefully takes all 10 pins out. Back to the only left-hander in the tournament, the two-handed Swede, Jesper Svensson.
Yeah, he's nailed it as well. We're at a point in this, Baker, where it really does start to get highly pressurised, because you don't want to be the guy that lets the rest of the team down.
If one player fails to strike, and it's, let's say, for instance, a 9 spare, that could be the frame that loses the game if the other team strikes off, and at the moment they're all perfect.
So we've had 9 strikes in a row between these two. If you had to really put your money down and say one of these Americans will give you a strike, a lot of people would choose this man to deliver. Kyle Troup delivers.
Well, look at all the strikes at the halfway stage. We're all level, 150 pins each. Let's not forget that the Americans won the first Baker game with, as we mentioned, that massive 289 game. And they're on course.
Yeah, look at this. That's perfection.
That certainly is. Great looking graphic there with all the scores.
So the Europe skipper, Don Barrett, finds the pocket, takes all 10 out. No corner pins sticking around under this assault from these 8 players.
Well, as I say, they all seem to enjoy this particular lane condition of 40 feet and the amount of oil that's on there. They're all getting a nice reaction at the break point and carrying all 10. No dodgy, as you say, corner pins hanging around at the moment.
Now, who's going to break the spell? Here comes Tackett, looking to replicate the European double turkey. With 6 in a row here. Ho, 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 ho. Ice cool there, wasn't he?
I think it was Sean Rash that said on earlier interview that this condition will create a strike fest for the Americans. Well, he's correct in that, saying that, but it's also a strike fest for the Europeans, and I'm sure he wasn't counting on that.
Well, we've seen 12 strikes in a row. And here is Martin Larsson. Trying to keep it alive. That's gone a little bit wide. Yeah, that missed the head pin.
Yes, I'm afraid off the hand that was going in the wrong direction, and it picked up the lane oil on the outside of the lane and it held it out there for too long. The ball actually started to break and come back, but that's just gone too wide and it's not going to make the head pin. Look at that. 1, 2, 4 and the 8 pins left. Now he's under pressure to spare this, but everybody's under pressure because everybody's had strikes.
Oh, an open frame really would be the most terrible perspective, really, and that was never going to happen. Larsson's got his spare.
But it was only a 6 count on the first ball, so the spare gives him 16 pins. Had it been a 9 spare, it would have been 19.
It's given the Americans a little bit of breathing room here.
Well, it will have if Sean Rash can blast another one in frame number 7.
Well, there is one of those corner pins that just wouldn't go. But there's the difference, you see. Martin Larsson only taking 6 pins, Rash taking 9. That's why the Americans are still in front here.
Yes, a spare here, and there'll be 3 pins in the front with just 3 frames to go. Rash makes the spare nicely.
So the spell broken in the 7th frame for both these teams. No 300 game here.
Yeah, pressure off, apparently.
It's amazing, isn't it, when the streak ends like that, you end up getting a little flurry of spares. Stu Williams will be hoping that is not the case here and that he will get Europe back on track. Keep the pressure on the Americans. All they have to do now, Team USA, is match what the Europeans do, and they will take this point. They've got to match that.
Yeah, great looking shot there from Stu Williams. What people have to remember is that there's 7 players that are all right-handers and they're all playing the same area of the lane, so the lane condition is going to adjust and they're going to have to change and adjust with it. Oil will be carried down that right-hand side, whereas young Svensson on the left-hand side has got the lane all to himself. So there will be some variation on that right-hand side by now.
Here is the marathon man, 4 straight matches in a row in the afternoon session, and he has left the big 4, and that might cost the USA this point.
Well, with Europe working on a strike next frame, this was a really big ball, and unfortunately it's straight through the face of the number 1 pin, and it leaves the 4, 6, 7, 10, known as the big 4, as you described, Nick. It's a makeable spare, but we're looking sort of maybe 50 to 1. Well, he certainly gave it a shot, but two pins is all he makes, and in that frame it's just 8 scored.
Well, that's a game changer, especially as we get down to the business end of this, frame 9, the traditional foundation frame. Basically, the Europeans can get the point here with a strike and a spare. Cass is quickly doing the calculations to make sure I'm correct.
No, Nick, I'll take your word for it.
Well, don't do that.
But a double here for Svensson will be very handy, shall we say.
Well, here's the young Swede, trying to work his part of it, and doing just that. I'll tell you what, we talked about the 289 the Americans bowled. Europe are still on course for a 286 here. And that is probably the ball that secures the point here.
Yes, it certainly is, and Svensson knew it as well. 2 strikes here for USA in 9th and 10th will give them 267. Europe are already on 256.
Oh, it's got to be a strike from Troup, and it is. Troup's up next against Stu Williams, both of them in good form going into their singles match.
Well, Carl's had 3 shots in his bacon, he struck every time, so he's lined up at this particular time. So he's probably the man to come in and play against Williams and hopefully give him a good game.
Williams has had 2 strikes, but here we go.
Yes, it's the captain, Don Barrett, hoping to finish it off with 1 ball.
He just has to stay clean. An open frame would open the door for the Americans to steal this point. Doesn't need the strike, but must make sure he takes all 10 pins. And really taking his time over this. So they can't celebrate the point yet, but they might be able to in a moment. That's the moment. .286, that's a score.
Well, it's a score and a half. Yeah, it doesn't quite get the 289 that the Americans scored earlier in the first break game, but a great captain shot here to secure the point for Team Europe.
Well, start as you mean to go on, I guess. That'll be the European perspective here. They've been slow starters in the other sessions, even though they won the first one of this afternoon. They then proceeded to lose 3 in a row. They'll be looking to try and carry the momentum on from that Baker into the next match. Not a shabby 267 from the USA, but that open frame from Marshall Kent has proved costly. Once again, Europe have tucked themselves in, just 1 point behind the Americans. Up next, it'll be Kyle Troup going up against Stu Williams. That's in a couple of moments.
Team Europe seem to have been chasing in this year's Weber Cup right from the opening match. They are now just a point away from their American rivals, having won the Baker match at the start of session 3. Led by Dominic Barrett, it was a big opening statement from the whole team. The remainder of the session is now made up of singles matches. Europe with momentum. Barrett and Williams are now talking to Hannah Wilkes.
Well, Dom, that is definitely the start you wanted, a near perfect game.
Yeah, we were bowling really well at the start. Obviously, Martin had his bad shot, and it was kind of what they were doing the same as they did yesterday in the Baker. So it was a big game for us to win, and yeah, it came out the right way.
How much was their open frame a bit of a game changer?
Martin missed, you know, he hung his head and we said, you never know, Martin, you might have started something, and then they missed twice after that. So it just, it's about time good things started happening for us, and that might have just changed it.
Stu, you definitely seem to have found your stride out there. Looking forward to your match with Kyle next, because you're both on blinding form.
Yeah, I mean, me and Kyle are both pretty tough competitors, and, you know, we both like to let the opposition know, you know, when we feel confident, so it should be a good match.
And a word on the crowd, because my goodness, they are loud tonight, and it's an atmosphere that seems to really suit you.
Yeah, I mean, since we started to get back a little bit, I mean, that match I had with Marshall, I think that's really turned the crowd back onto our side. I mean, it's hard to cheer for somebody who's losing all the time. So, yeah, they're coming in, and hopefully we can keep giving them things to cheer about.
We hope so. Thanks very much.
Williams aware of the expectations in the Metrodome. Time then for our next match, a singles game featuring that man Williams and Kyle Troup of the USA. Commentary for this match comes from Cass Edwards, Guy Kaminsky and Nick Halling.
Guy, nice to see you up here, and I'm going to put you on the spot because while we've been building this one up, you have just whispered in my ear, if these two both play to the best of their ability, Kyle Troup wins this. Why do you say that?
Well, I'm not one to sit on the fence. Always like to give my opinion, even when not asked. But yeah, I do like Kyle's chances here, just mainly because he's been the best player for USA this year, and he was the best player for them last year. He just loves the environment, yeah. And it's going to be interesting to watch how they're going to attack this lane pattern. You know, we've changed the lane pattern from the first 2 sessions, so this is really in his wheelhouse.
Yeah, as you saw, his average going into this one, 274, and he starts off, kicked out the 10 pin there. That wasn't a messenger, that was a wrecking ball that came in from somewhere to take that 10.
Yeah, absolutely blasted it out the pit, didn't it? Great looking shot. Fantastic strike to start with. Carl Troup, only in his second Weber Cup, but he's made a name for himself already on this lane.
I mean, how these modern day players, guys, are just, I mean, who would have thought a few years ago we'd be seeing 600 RPM going down the lane? It looks like he's throwing hand grenades down there.
Yeah, really, it's changed so much in the last 10 years or so, hasn't it? It's incredible. Stu Williams averaging a pretty respectable 239.5 thus far. Doesn't get the same revs, doesn't throw the ball quite as hard, but it's where you land it, and that was just out of the pocket.
Yeah, almost crossed the headpin there, a bit tight down the middle of the lane. Didn't give it any width at all. He's left the 6 and the 10 pin. So he's going to bring out his harder spare ball and throw it very straight at these. Just didn't get the width and it's broken early. This is the second match on this lane condition. We'll be playing 3 matches before we get the next redress.
Safely spared.
I mean, interesting to see there, Cashman, is that Stewie is throwing 475 RPM, nothing wrong with that. Got some interesting stats here from Specto that I've been looking at that I wanted to notice. I think it was going to be key with this lane pattern, is that the Americans really like to play inside the lane. The first one bowled by Carl, he was at the 8th board at his break point, and then Stuart there was interesting enough at the 9th board, so a little bit inside him. But the difficulty for him is he can't throw the same ball speed as Carl, so I don't actually quite know what the tactics Stuart's going to use.
Oh, now look at that. Now that was a strike all the way, but sometimes those corner pins just stick around, and for some reason that 7 didn't want to know.
Yeah, he sent quite a lot of garbage pins across to it, but they just fell down all around it. And as you say, the 7 stood up, so it can only be a spare. Not also forgetting that the game previous to this, we had 8 guys, or 7 guys, playing a Baker match all down the right-hand side, where these 2 guys are playing. So there may well be quite a bit of corruption down there, and the oil will be transitioning. So the bowlers are going to have to make adjustments when they can see that difference in the lane.
Yeah, spot on, Cass. That transition's a difficult thing, and we often see the scores drop down slightly during the transition, and then normally scores would increase as the lane opens up after that, provided the guys attack the lane the right way. You know, sometimes the guys can get 2 left. I thought in the day session today, the guys got 2 left too early, and you saw how difficult the lane started to look in the later games in the day session.
Yeah, 2 or 3 of the players really didn't perform at their best this afternoon, but that was then. This is now. Here's Williams looking to just get back on strike, take it all 10.
There's no doubting who the crowd are supporting. The roof nearly went off there. Unbelievable from the guys there. They are so behind Europe here, because I think they know that they need to help the boys out here.
And I know it's obvious to say, Guy, but they're not actually playing against one another. They're playing the lane. They want to overcome the lane and any problems it has. And if they're going to overcome the lane, shoot 260 or 270, that's when they should be winners.
That's exactly right. As you watch Carl here,
Well, now it's the other one. Is it going to go? Is it going to go? No, it's not. Well, it was the 7 that stood up last time. This time it's the 10.
And that's the thing that happens, guys, is that we often say the guys didn't really play their best. But the reality is that what the people at home can't see is what oil conditional pattern is out there. Some are high scoring and some are low scoring. So it's not necessarily they aren't playing well. I know we didn't see some great bowling later on this afternoon, but sometimes the lane becomes difficult and it's really hard to strike. And then there's a premium on spares. And that can be equally exciting watching a close, low-scoring game as we saw the first game of Baker, just a great high-scoring match.
You know, you're absolutely right, and Carl was pretty unfortunate there.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't that the first time he's had back-to-back spares in this Weber Cup, Kyle Troup? I mean, he's not used to this. Oh, he's been a machine.
I was just going to say, I couldn't say either yes or no, but it may well be the case. He's certainly been a strike machine.
An opportunity here for Stu to try and capitalise on that 9 from Carl.
And while Williams gets ready to bowl, Troup is in deep conversation with his captain. Let's see what Williams can do. He takes all 10. Well, that's great news. But there are some concerns in the American camp. Kyle Troup spent a long time talking to Sean Rash while all that was going on. This is the first time we've seen him under any kind of pressure at all. Pressure. A pair of 9 spares. I mean, that just sums up the kind of level he's been at.
You say that, Nick, but look at the difference in the maximum scores. That's what 2 spares can do. Assuming that they all strike out.
Well, let's see if that little conversation that he had with Sean Rash leads to an adjustment which will get him back on strike. 2 9 spares. And it's another 9 spare coming up. But he takes the 2 corner pins out, if that's any consolation. But this is unexpected from Troup.
Yeah, so I really think the key to this match right now is in ball speed. What essentially they're trying to do, because as Cass said, the lane's transitioning, so the oil's coming off the lane and the ball's going to naturally want to turn more into the head pin. So the guys are moving their feet to the left and trying to keep it in the oil and float it out to the right. But what's happening is Kyle's ball speed is not allowing that ball to pick up. So it's just not reading enough lane to make the angle back and hit the pocket flush. So he's coming in fractionally behind the head pin. So either essentially a ball speed change for him, or maybe his feet back a bit to the right.
What changes would you make if you were Stuart Williams, if any?
Well, no, he's got it absolutely perfect, but as you know, the lane's changing every time the ball goes down there. There's a very minuscule change, and he seems to be on it right now. His ball speed is matching up beautifully to this lane pattern.
Yeah, working on 2 strikes in a row, looking for the 3rd.
Well, he's really got to make hay here. Well, this man is struggling. Because 3 9 spares. That's opened the door a little bit here for Stu Williams. And he is walking right through that open door.
And now we're seeing the best of Stuart Williams. This is what he absolutely loves, and he's done year after year. In the match play environment, he is one of the strongest competitors you'll ever play against.
Welcome back to the Weber Cup, where the USA and Europe are battling for the greatest prize in team 10-pin. Europe have been chasing this tournament since the first match of the opening session. Stuart Williams is once again trying to level the scores and is on track to do so against Kyle Troup.
This man's been having a strike fest all tournament. It's just at 3 spares in a row. Of just put him behind the 8 ball a little bit.
Well, he's again made an adjustment, and he only just caught the head pin there. You know, that wasn't a bad luck 9 spare. He only just caught the head pin. This is not getting better for Kyle Troup. It's starting to degenerate, if anything. Look at this. Look how thin he was on the head pin there.
Yeah, pretty high speed as well by the look of it. Didn't give it time to snap up in behind the head pin into the 1-3 pocket.
I mean, he may even have got the strike there, but he would have known that's the worst ball he's bowled. So it's 4 in a row.
It's a game of small margins, Nick. He hasn't really missed the pocket too much. It's just a fraction of an adjustment, and then he'll be able to strike. But unfortunately, in this one-game match, you just run out of time so quickly. All the guys have been saying on the lane that they just can't believe how quickly the game comes to the end.
Look, he's back in conversation.
We never saw this last year, Nick. And you weren't with us, but I promise you, we never saw. The guys looked isolated on the lanes last year. Here, there's a much tighter unit. They're really trying to help each other out, and it's made such a difference.
Well, they've obviously learned from their mistakes. I mean, if someone's struggling, you can't be left just to sit and wallow in it. You need your teammates to help you out. Whether it's a pat on the back or a boot on the backside, whatever it is, but you're part of a team. Now, Williams just has to check there. Now, that necessarily wasn't somebody moving. I heard Martin Larsson earlier saying there's a lot of lights just moving around this arena, and sometimes these lights come in and just dazzle you at an inopportune time. Whatever, Williams did not feel he was ready to bowl there.
I mean, I know he's sorry, Cass, but I know he. But look how he slowed the game down. Everything's in his favour. He wants Carl to sit there and think about what's going on for as long as possible. This is brilliant match play tactics right here.
That is a very, very good point. He has slowed it right down. And that's allowing Troup just to sit and think about what's going on. If he can just keep striking. There goes another one. He's done it again. Well, it's 4 spares for Troup and 4 strikes for Williams.
I hate to say it, but Carl is sitting and stewing on his own.
Classic Cass. And just looking at the Specto stats here, they're both bowling in the exact same part of the lane. They're both at 7 board, 8 board. But the only difference really is the ball speed. That Carl's getting it down the lane. It's just not picking up and getting back into the pocket, but mainly down to ball speed. Let's see if he makes any change on this ball. I'll give you guys the stats.
Yeah, he's got to make a change here because that last ball barely touched the head pin. Now, that was better, and he's still, though, left another single pin. I mean, this must be driving him mad.
Yeah, but interesting enough, he made a ball change there. So he recognized that it wasn't going well, so he made a ball change. This is actually the ball he used early on. So, you know, it just basically hooked a little bit too much on him, so maybe he needs to move fractionally, but I do like that ball as a better choice compared to the Alpha Crux that he was using early on.
In the context of the big picture, the money man for both these teams is the 2-ball bowler, Troup for the Americans, and Jesper Svensson for Europe. Well, Svensson was shot down by Troup in the afternoon session, but now Troup looks like he's going to be tripped up by Stu Williams. And this will be a huge win for Williams if he can just hold it all together here.
See, I think Carl changed balls there. He's looking for a little bit more angle at the back of the lane to try and square up to the pocket because he's becoming behind the headpin. But Stewart just needs more of the same. Can he keep it going?
Yeah, he changes nothing. I think this is out of sight already.
It's certainly not very far away from it, as you can see on the scores, but Stu is looking absolutely great. 5 strikes in a row at 30 pins a time.
Yeah, we're Saturday night session now. We're getting to the business end, you know, and this is where the big players really step up to the plate. And Stuart's been such a rock for these guys over the years. And he doesn't give you chances when he gets, you know, when he gets on top. He never ever, you know, lets you get out. It's amazing.
Well, if he's going to make any kind of move, it really is now or never. We're in frame 7 and Troup's got to get himself sorted out, and that's that. That'll do it. I mean, it's just getting worse and worse for him. Everybody is going to have a rough one at this Weber Cup. There's no doubt about it. This is Kyle Troup's. Remember, he came in averaging over 270. That was never going to hold up over the course of the weekend. But this has been a real serious breakdown for the man from North Carolina.
Well, he made the ball change at the previous frame, and as Guy was saying, he just got too much snap in the back end, which took him high on the headpin. That one reacted again exactly the same, but it went straight through the nose, left the 4-6 split, and that's going to cost them the match, I'm afraid.
Well, going into this, we had barely seen a spare from Troup, and we hadn't seen an open frame at all. Now we've seen a bunch of spares and his first open frame.
Well, he's gone 6 frames without a strike.
Well, I think if Stewart strikes here, that's the end of the game, and I think he will let Carl know all about it.
First, he's got to make sure his part of the bargain is done. Oh, he got out of the pocket, and now he's going to leave an open one. He won't be letting anybody know about anything after that shot.
Maybe just a little bit slow on speed.
Exactly right, Cass, spot on. It was just 1 mile an hour slower than the previous deliveries, but it was accurate, but just ball picked up due to a loss of speed there. Cass, spot on.
Yep, 4-6-7 split, and we'll take just 2.
He's still in good shape, though, because both of them have left the 7th open.
Yeah, nothing lost there, really. Nothing gained, nothing lost.
I still think Stu would wanted to have struck there and just give them a bit of, because Carl did let Jesper know all about it when he beat Jesper. So I think the Europeans want to return the favour to Carl.
Well, if whatever happens with Troup, if Williams gets 2 strikes out of these remaining 3 frames, he wins. So the ball is firmly in his court. But Troup, as I've said before, there is no such thing as a wasted ball. You're always going to be testing, checking, changing. And finally, he is back on strike.
And we saw that, Nick, that he changed ball back to what he was using. Didn't like that reaction he was getting from the red ball. But this is what happens in a short format for a point, is that the pressure makes you're chasing strikes all the time. You can't afford to be behind. And that's the beauty and makes it so much fun to watch.
And also, if you're struggling with one ball, you really can't afford to hang around, oh, I'll just give it one more shot, one more frame. You've got to make that change.
Well, that's exactly it. But sometimes you make the change too soon.
Well, 9 spares okay. He's got to make sure he does clean this up. But it does leave a glimmer of a chance here for Troup.
Yeah, he's just got to stay clean. Wasn't a bad shot. It was a 4-pin standing. Should be a straightforward spare for Stuart.
Yeah, Stu's in the position now where spares are completely good.
Oh, he hasn't got it though. He's missed it. That's massive.
Oops, somebody shouted from the crowd, and Stuart will be kicking himself.
I'm actually at a loss for words because that is a major mistake. I mean, he's got room to play with, but if Stuart loses this game, I don't think he'll forgive himself.
And I'll tell you how unexpected this was. Guy Kaminski was looking at us rather than the delivery, because that was automatic. That was a formality. He makes that shot 999 times out of 1,000.
I mean,
it's only the second 9 miss we've seen in the whole tournament so far, and he really will be kicking himself.
And it wasn't like he was under any pressure. That's a lack of concentration almost. Maybe almost he didn't pay any attention either, Nick.
I tell you, he'll be sweating a lot if this is a strike. You can bet it is from Troup. He'll be back in on it here. Look at this. He's got a chance here. And what should have been job done for Stu Williams is suddenly hanging on by his fingernails now.
Well, all of a sudden, this next frame is a hell of an important for Stu. Any spare is good enough, but a strike would be ideal right now.
He can't afford a split, that is for sure. Now Troup is daring to dream here, because Williams has gone off the boil badly. Back-to-back open frames, and one of them a complete mental breakdown. Oh, how he needed that. He's got himself out of the hole.
Oh boy, did he need that. Because if Carl Troup struck on the last frame and Stu Williams had 2 9 spares, we would have had a tie.
Well, Stu really, I mean, he was talking to the American teammate sitting in the back of the lane. That's who he was shouting at there. He wasn't actually referring to Carl at all, but there's obviously a bit of talk, bit of banter happening in the background, asking if Stu was going to crack, but he answered that question. But it's not over yet. There's still work to be done if Carl can strike here.
Well, if he does strike, Williams can still win it with 9. Let's see if Troup's going to make him do some work. Yes, he is.
I mean, huge credit to Carl here. He didn't go away.
No.
He hung in there. And you know what? Make your opposition win it. Don't give it away.
Absolutely. He has come off that 9 spare fest, then the open. He's wrapped up with a turkey 3 in a row, and he's forcing Williams to do something. Williams needs 9.
Yeah, a 9 miss will make a tie, so he'd have to convert the spare if he gets a 9. Anything less than 9, he will have to spare to win. Obviously, a strike is game over stuff. So a 9 is potentially a draw, or if he spares it, a result. If it's an 8, it must be a spare.
Well, that renders all the mathematics completely irrelevant. Well, we had some ups and downs in that one, didn't we? Kyle Troup, who went 6 frames without a strike, suddenly made it interesting because Stuart Williams left back-to-back open frames, but Williams showed his grit and his toughness and finished with a double. And that, in many ways, is a huge bonus point for Team Europe. Troup was the money man for the Americans, but Stu Williams has levelled this race to 19 up at 8 apiece. What a terrific Weber Cup we're enjoying.
Europe with the perfect start to this session. They've now drawn level with the Americans, and after Williams' win in the 16th match, they would claim that momentum is on their side in this race to 19. Williams is now talking to Hannah Wilkes.
Well, Stu, you were making that look very easy, but then back-to-back open frames. What went through your mind?
Well, I mean, I didn't feel like I threw a good shot in the whichever frame it was when I split, so I took the 2, and then the next frame I was just trying to stay a little safer, I guess, and I 4-pinned, and I guess I just had a brain fart, and I went up and I missed the spare, and yeah, it made it a little bit closer than it really was or should have been.
It certainly did that, but a great show for the crowd who were getting so loud in here.
Yeah, I mean, like Sean likes to chirp from the sidelines, and, you know, he was trying to tell us it wasn't over yet, but when it really was, so I just had to let him know that that game was over.
The mind games are definitely out in force this evening. Confident for Team Europe keeping that mental edge as it gets down to the wire?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've been in these positions way more times than they have in this competition, so we're just going to keep going, and hopefully we can just, you know, keep winning points. We're on a roll now. Jesper's going up next, so things are good. We've got Jesper and then Dom, so our best 2 players are still coming up, so it's good. Finally back on level terms.
That you are. Thanks very much.
A tough match for Williams, who delighted the crowd with a win that draws his team level. 2 big matches coming up in our next show. Barrett and Svensson for Europe, hoping to grab the lead in the Just Eat Weber Cup.